Hello, how is everyone today? I apologize for the slow start. Apparently we've had a miscommunication in the audio phone number that was displayed, but welcome to the conference. Today we'll have two presenters. Myself, I'm Carl Walder. I'm VP of Solutions for North America for Noble Systems, and I run our higher-end business consulting practices associated with looking at key process indicators, top assessments, things of that nature. I'd like to introduce you to Matt Schock. Matt's our Senior Solutions Engineer.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I've been with Noble Systems a little over 5 years now. I am a Senior Solutions Engineer, specializing mostly in the areas surrounding workforce optimization. Included in that, obviously, is the quality assurance and audio finder applications that we'll be reviewing this afternoon.
Very good. Thank you, Matt. Just a little housekeeping. Everyone is placed on mute, so that does prevent crosstalk, feedback, etc. There is a mechanism for you all to submit questions. If you'll look up at the top menu bar, you'll see Q&A. So as you answer questions during the conference, we will take a look at those at the end of the presentation and answer anything that you have posted. So let's get started. Today what we're going to do is we're going to take a 40,000-foot view of how speech analytics is utilized within the call center, how we can use speech analytics in the overall compliance process, give you an overview of the Audio Finder speech analytics products, and then wrap it up with some discussions in terms of case studies and applications. As VP of Solutions, I'll go into some of our largest customers, and we do what's known as a technology optimization performance analysis and assessment. And as part of that, we drill down into looking at, depending on the particular company, what are the key process indicators associated with the call center and the business? From a collections perspective, there's a lot of focus on liquidity. On customer service and outsourcing, there's a lot of focus on right party contact, service levels, are we answering the questions appropriately? So there's a large spectrum of key process indicators associated with it. And as we drill down into it, we start to ask some very specific questions when we get to that aspect of looking at agent behavior. What exactly are those agents saying? Are they having the right conversation associated with what our best practices are? Are they doing, everything associated with first call resolution? Are they being compliant within their conversation from the perspectives of collections? We all know the call center industry is volatile, so, how do we truly assess whether the agents have been adequately trained? Have they gone into the out on the call center floor? Have we introduced new programs? They went through the training process, and are they utilizing it? Maybe it's a new hire. For those folks that have been with us a long time, that we have a lot of confidence in, have they developed any bad habits? Are those bad habits giving us issues with compliance? So it's very hard to really understand that without actually listening to the audio and sampling the audio and generating scorecards and monitoring the agents and coaching the agents. What I find is a majority of our customers really are looking at 100%, or they're reporting 100% of all of their audio. The real problem that I have is I just don't have the bandwidth to listen to 100% of that audio. I run into situations where literally less than 1% or 0.5% of all the audio is actually listened to in Q8. So if we look at these recorded conversations, there's additional information that's also within there. So if I can actually come in and listen to an entire conversation, a larger sample of that conversation, I can truly get an idea of what my campaign effectiveness is, what my compliance and my quality assurance efficiencies are, what my training and my best practices are. And so it's very difficult to do that with the current technology that we have. I mean, we all know that the call center is probably the most statistically rich environment that we have. So what is speech analytics, and how does speech analytics help us solve our problem? Well, we probably have all heard the term data mining. So data mining is the ability to drill down into large amounts of data and look at statistical trends, trending analysis, etc. With speech analytics, it does the same thing, but it allows us, in essence, to do audio mining across large volumes of recorded conversations to truly gain actionable intelligence. So I can set up queries, and we'll kind of walk through the queries when we get into an overview of the product, that allows me to look not only for keywords, but literally structured sentences of what agents are saying. I can find hidden insights into the overall agent skill sets. I'm able to, for example, look at the disposition codes on the particular call, take a look and listen and identify the conversation that should have matched that disposition code, and then literally query a large set of data or conversation or recordings to actually see if those conversations match up with the disposition codes. I'm going to gain a lot of different insights. We've all gotten complaint calls from folks on particular reps or sets of reps, or issues associated with rolling out new programs and the reps saying incorrect things, potentially. Doing quotes in the loan servicing business, if somebody, misrepresents a particular loan modification plan or things like that. Lots of compliance issues. But how can I specifically drill down into large quantities of data and find a particular phrase or a particular saying? Well, speech analytics allows us and provides us the technology to do just that. So, the challenge is, how do I minimize my risks of doing business and enhance compliance in the quality assurance role and improve agent effectiveness so that I can literally drill down and optimize my quality assurance teams? Audio Finder helps us do that. So let's kind of run through the compliance process and how the compliance process works with the Noble solution. Well, our current process is we record calls. We're able to use the metadata associated with those recordings to segment the calls, identify the set of calls we want to listen to. We listen to those calls, and then we're able to update a particular scorecard. So that's pretty much the current process. And on average, most customers are targeting 5 to 10 calls or less per agent per month for the quality assurance. So you can imagine that, given the volume of information and the recordings that have occurred, that is extremely inadequate to truly get a picture of what's going on. Now, speech analytics has two different types of technologies. There's phonetic-based technology, and there's large vocabulary speech recognition technology. And I want to spend a little bit of time discussing that, because this has to do with the accuracy of being able to pull back the results. Large vocabulary speech recognition is a process where it literally uses a text data dictionary, which you need to build and maintain in order to identify what you want to search for. You add that information, the phrases and the terms into that data dictionary. It creates a word lattice, which then creates a grammar search mechanism so that once you process your audio, it looks at the dictionary, it looks at the word lattice, looks at the grammar to identify a particular term or a particular set of terms. The problem with large vocabulary speech recognition, and I've worked with both, is that unless you understand what you need to look for, well, that data dictionary makes it extremely difficult to maintain because, the minute you've done your analysis, you're going to come up with 10 or 15 new and additional phrases that you want to listen to. And now what do I have to do? Well, I have to go back and I have to not only update the dictionary and process the word lattice and the grammar, but the real operational impact is I've got to reprocess all of my audio again to do that. So we use phonetic-based technology, and what happens with phonetic-based technology is the audio files are processed by our particular solution, and they turn into what's known as PAT files, or phonetic audio tracks. Phonetic audio tracks literally break the conversation down into phonemes. A phoneme is the smallest unit of speech that is available within a human language. A, E, ch, are examples of phonemes. So we actually break it down into a time-based phonetic audio track into the smallest mechanism associated with a voice language. Once we've done that, we're able to do ad hoc queries, enter new information, enter new words, enter new sentences, enter new phrases for our analysis without having to reprocess the audio. Now, I'm not sure about everyone else, but I am not smart enough to understand exactly what I need to search for, so it's an iterative analysis process. So, what we found and what we've incorporated into our technology is a phonetic audio track approach, or a phonetic-based approach that truly speeds the operational analysis of the audio and the information. Now, what I can do now is I can improve my traditional QA compliance process. Not only now can I take the recorded calls, but I can do now large sets of recorded calls, thousands of audio calls, target the specific areas within my operation that I need to look at. So, perhaps I need to take a look at first call resolution. So I'm going to pull out the set of initial calls that's representative across my agents for first call resolution. Perhaps I've just introduced a new training program, and there's a group of agents associated with that new training program on a new product rollout or new compliance issues that I have to manage. Well, I can literally pull that information specifically for them. I can also use the metadata, create specific queries associated with disposition calls or any large number of things to generate a large number of calls. Now, I take those large number of calls. I no longer have to individually listen to them. I can actually create this set of phrases and words that allows me to analyze it, analyze those calls, drill down from like a subset of 1,000 calls to a subset of 30 calls that represent the specific behavior that I want to identify, and then use that to speed and update the scorecards associated with the process. This will speed up your overall QA and your compliance process literally by 200, 300, 400%. So specifically with Noble and our speech analytic or our workforce optimization suite, we've got the Noble Recorder. Within the Noble Recorder, we're able to pull the information out, export it, go into Audio Finder, and do a QA scorecard on it. So that's, given the tool set, this is what we're looking at. What I'd like to do now is turn the discussion over to Matt. Matt is very adept at using Audio Finder with our Workforce Optimization Suite, and let him go through some practical examples of what he's done in the past. With that, Matt, why don't you take it away?
Thank you very much, Carl. So as Carl alluded to, this really ties in very closely to the Noble Recorder, the Noble Quality Assurance module that many of you already have today. So the Audio Finder product itself is a desktop-based product. We're going to use sample recordings, and we can assume, or the software can assume roughly 15,000 hours of audio at a time. It is a single user, and it is a per-user license. So this is a very user-friendly. It sits right on a manager's or administrator's desktop. They're able then to do this analysis, or if you have someone specified for this particular job function, it could sit right on their desktop, and they could consume the audio right from the Noble recording application into the Audio Finder for analysis.
Now, Matt, it's my understanding that we can also include that as a menu item in Maestro. Is that not true?
Absolutely, absolutely. Using your user menu functionality within the Maestro, you are able to add a shortcut to the Audio Finder application right to your Maestro Management Console, making it an even more seamless application for you to use.
Excellent.
So obviously the first step is we want to do, like you do today, is to query a subset of our audio. So as Carl alluded to earlier, we can actually query recordings stored in the system based on a number of different data parameters. For example, if I wanted to look across a particular date range of, say, a week for a specific agent for calls that resulted in a specific status. So I'll use collections as an example. If I wanted to look at all the call recordings from last week for agent John Smith, where the status of the call resulted in a promise to pay, I could pull just those call recordings. That's functionality that exists today, and you could use any one of the data parameters that you have. What's nice about it is we do have the ability to do an export or an archive of those recordings directly into the speech analytics product. So we can do an export for the speech analytics specifically. Meaning the audio is basically identified, set up, all of the metadata behind it is then exported into the Audio Finder application for further analysis. So the first step essentially is give me the subset of audio that I'm looking for based on certain data parameters, whether it's agent, whether it's application or campaign, whether it be list ID, status code, or a combination of those things. That would move us on to our next step, which is then to extract the audio and the metadata. So we're basically going to choose to extract it to a folder that is a destination that is then going to be consumed by the Audio Finder application. So it's very simple. It's a menu drop-down in the recording module. You simply choose the destination, and then the Audio Finder application can consume that along with the metadata so that you can sort and search on the metadata within the Audio Finder application as well. So now I need to index, search, and listen for specific topics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build what is known as a media library and or a media set. And that's simply a definition of the audio subset that I'm going to be bringing in. So I may want to label my audio John Smith to identify the agent. I may want to label it based on the campaign or application. And best practice is to label it based on some data parameter that you've done, whether it be date, whether it be application, status, agent, whatever the case may be. But you're going to index it, and now you have the ability to actually search audio items. In a collections environment, you may want to search for Minnie Miranda. In a sales environment, you may want to search for someone saying thank you or we appreciate your business. And you can save searches as media sets to basically further drill down into that. What's nice is, I think what we alluded to earlier was that you have the ability to search for certain words and phrases within your audio. In addition, you also have the ability to search for audio where words or phrases weren't used. So I may want to search for my audio where the Minnie Miranda was not used as a way of making sure that I'm in compliance. Or you can combo phrases together where I want to search for phrases that should be closely related. So possibly a Minnie Miranda may be followed by this call is being recorded, and maybe you want to know that those two phrases were said within a certain time frame of each other, within 10 seconds. Or someone says, I'm in bankruptcy, should be followed by another set of language from the agent. So you can search for words and phrases in conjunction with one another to make sure that they're said within a certain time threshold. So the flexibility of the tool to really search the audio, it's really a forensic search tool that allows you to really drill down and dig into your audio. And you can rely on different things. Obviously, the more complex the phrases, the more ability that the better your search results are going to be. It will also scorecard your searches. So it will give you the most relevant search results at the very top and give you a lower percentage as it drills down further. And then finally, if you are searching either a single phrase or multiple phrases, as you want to listen to the recordings that come back from your search, it'll actually take you to the point in the recording where the word and or phrases are being said, and it will mark by color the multiple phrases. So if I'm searching for multiple phrases, it'll color code each phrase. As you can see up here in our PowerPoint, we have a blue next to our first phrase. The next one may be green. It'll actually put separate areas where those two phrases are done, and you'll be able to see the timeline in which those things are said and listen to them immediately, or if you choose to, listen to the audio in its whole. And then finally, after you do that, you'll want to go back and create and do your scorecards. And what you'll want to do is modify your scorecards to reflect for the words and phrases that you're searching for. And you can either make the answers to those scorecards either yes, no, or scalable, and tell whether or not excluding a phrase would be a violation of that particular call. And it really brings a more complete tool to the quality assurance and the scorecarding part of things, because now I don't have to listen to hours of audio. I can target words and phrases and actually give me a more complete scorecard, a more accurate scorecard, and at the end of the day, better train your agents and make sure that you're in compliance.
Yeah, Matt, operationally what I've found is because I can specifically put in my words and phrases and really drill down on that subset of audio for those words and phrases, that gives me a much more granular mechanism in order to pull the subset of recordings that I truly want to score without having to take hours and hours and hours of listening through calls, speeding calls up, reversing calls, et cetera, in order to get directly to my points. The other cool thing is because it's in a phonetic audio track, as I'm doing these scorings, as I do these assessments, what I found, which was really cool, was if I'm able to stack multiple phrases up together. So I can stack up, for example, in the anatomy of a call, the intro, the body of the call, whether it be sales or collections or getting to the point, and the close of the call. Both good and bad practices generate, so take 1,000 files, use those stacked up phrases. From those 1,000 files, I'm going to get, 50, 60 files that I can look at, which really gives me a subset of audio that directly allows me to get the appropriate calls that I truly need to score, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's really, and we've just sort of scraped the surface with what you can really do with this tool as far as grouping phrases together, basically making sure they're said within a certain time frame of one another, seeing or checking if a word was excluded or a phrase was excluded from the audio. So it's a very good training tool, like we said, a very good analysis tool, and it is an outstanding training tool. You're able to pull call recordings where if you look for words, search for different words and phrases, and actually prepare, some pretty strong recordings that you can use for training purposes. So just some examples of audio searches that might take place for verifying a right party would be, what are the last 4 numbers of your social? And you could search just for that phrase. You don't actually have to get the social, but you want to make sure that that question was asked. Verify the last 4 digits of your social. Any one of those phrases you could use, and you'll get multiple hits based on the differences or the different phrasing from the agents. All of those, if I say last 4 of your social, any one of those variants would probably come up as a hit when I look for it, because it's going to look, once again, phonetically for those markers within someone's speech. Mini Miranda, obviously, We're all probably pretty familiar with that. This is an attempt to collect a debt. This call may be monitored. And obviously negotiating strategies are strong ones that you want to see as well. Set up an arrangement, try to get your current on your account, get all your accounts current. I need a payment. How much are you going to be sending? What kind of arrangement can you make? Those are all key phrases that you may want to search for. And once again, we could search for those in conjunction with one another. So you may want to say, after the mini Miranda, did somebody try to negotiate? Or after the negotiating strategy was said, was there another phrase in conjunction with that? So once again, you could use these as singular searches, you could use them as stackable searches, or you could use them as relational searches, meaning if this is said, then this should be said, and I want to make sure that I'm searching for that as well. So I'm going to turn it back over to Carl now to kind of cover some of the last results here of what we have to offer.
Yeah, and thanks, Matt. And, the other things that I've done is, if I look at objections, so if I'm on sales or I'm on fundraising or I'm on loan servicing type of applications, there's a number of objections that people will have, and then there are rebuttals associated with those objections. So what I've done is I've listed out my lists of objections, as well as then taken my rebuttals to those objections. And then I've kind of grouped those together as I stack them up so I can see exactly what's going on. And then the nice thing is when I list those multiple phrases together or groups of phrases together, within the audio track, because it's a phonetic, time-based audio track, it's literally going to show me lines within the audio track where those words and phrases have been said. So you'll literally be able to see, oh, within this conversation, the first phrase was said within the first 10 seconds of the call. The second was 30 seconds into the call. The third was a minute and a half into the call. So you can also use this as a gauge of how efficient your agents are adhering to best practices, not getting lost in the conversation, etc. It's also going to show you areas of silence. And when you look at areas of silence, that gives you other key indicators of you've got an issue associated with training, you've got an application issue. So there's all sorts of key insights into other key process indicators that you can derive from this audio analysis. So, the end result is, I've done assessments for, right party contact and call handle time analysis. And I've found, associated with that I can identify areas within the beginning of a conversation, right party contact, assessing the value, assessing the information associated with the initial contact in the call, whether it be an inbound call or an outbound call, and identifying that, hey, you're really not focusing on the best practices to get right to the point, increasing overall average handle time by 5%. In this particular example, and I just pulled out two, that 5% literally represented about $250,000 per year. And then, in compliance and not being compliant, I mean, I've literally gone in, looked for these, associated phrases together, and, based on sampling, found that, 40% of my calls weren't necessarily compliant. And that's huge. And you can't really get that by listening to 2 or 3 calls per day per agent. You really need to kind of like do an assessment across, your population. You really want to be able to drill down at 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 calls at a time in order to get that to occur. So Noble has really, an entry product, which is Audio Finder, and Matt, I think, has done a good job going through that Audio Finder. With Audio Finder, it's a desktop-based product. It allows you to do audio searches. It allows you to do multiple languages. It allows you to save the searches, and it can really speed up your QA team significantly. Enterprise Speech Analytics is a server-based product which allows you to do a large number of very detailed queries saving those detailed queries, high-value drill-down reporting analysis, first-party contact analysis, etc. So Audio Finder will get your appetite whet, provide you an extremely efficient way to upgrade your QA processes. Once you've looked at that, assessed what's going on, then a lot of our customers, again with thousands of agents, are looking at the ESI solution. So speech analytics, I think we've kind of come across where it really is a boost to overall productivity within the QA compartment. So in other words, you're going to be able to. I used to build weapon systems, and one of the phrases was, "I need a force multiplier," which allows one person to do the work of 10 or 15 people. This is truly a tool in the call center that gives you that force multiplier, allows one QA agent to do the work of 10 QA agents, rapidly allows you to drill down, identify trends, improve your overall quality assurance processes and procedures, and really give you a very large bang for your buck in your QA, your compliance, your call effectiveness. It's really just a phenomenal tool for that. So that concludes the structured portion of our presentation. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at our questions and our answers. I've got one question here is, if I'm using my own PBX in addition to Noble, can the product be utilized in that environment? The simple answer to that question is yes. The product is specifically designed to be able to analyze multiple types of audio formats, whether it be our Vox native format, WAV formats, etc. So if you can export your audio recordings, whether it be from Noble or from another PBX or another recording tool, you can put those in Audio Finder and analyze those. Next question. Do accents from CSRs and callers provide a challenge in the audio strings? There are multiple language packs associated with the solution. So we literally have a Northeastern language pack, a Southern language pack, West Coast language pack, if you look at U.S.-based English. And that actually takes into account the different accents from the CSR from different regions. Multiple languages are also available. So I can have Spanish, and I can have Castilian Spanish from Spain, as well as Latin American Spanish, which is more prevalent within the United States as well. So each of those audio packs are available. They're separately licensed. If you want to really drill down into Audio Finder, we need to understand that. Same is true with French. We've got French-Canadian French, and we've got French packs from France. We've got UK English. We've got Australian English. So there's a number of areas there. Next question. How accurate is the analysis? That's a good question. Again, the major differentiator of this speech analytics technology versus the other is the phonetic audio track. Because it breaks down the analysis into the individual phonemes associated with the language, it is extremely accurate in terms of what you're looking at. Next question along those lines is, does it match the sentence structure exactly? Well, if I look at the sentence structure associated with it, it doesn't have to match exactly. So the beauty about the phonetic-based approach is the ability to subset out the audio track. So similar to Google language search. With Google language search and phrase search, it's going to rank the audio. So you're going to have a 90% rate of confidence down to a 10% rate of confidence. So not only does it do the entire sentence, but it can do a subset of the sentences. If only 3 words are utilized associated with, a 6-word sentence, it's going to actually pick those out, but it's going to give it a lower score. And so it's very accurate that way. Next question. Can I present word triggers to tag recordings as they happen? There is the ability to set word triggers, but that is within the ESI product, not the Audio Finder product, and that's something that we can explore. How fast does it process the WAV files or the Vox files? Matt, you just recently did, I think, 1,000 or 2,000 files, did you not?
Yes, yes. And it's actually pretty robust. It processes them, and actually indexes them fairly quickly. It was just a matter of minutes. Now, there will probably be some variance based on the PC or laptop that the application is installed upon, and I believe that we do provide technical requirements for that, but we're talking a matter of minutes for a few thousand recordings.
Yeah, and what I've found is that I've used it on a kind of a lower powered laptop when I'm doing my analysis. So I'll actually pull 5,000 or 6,000 files, put them on my laptop as part of our consulting practice assessment. And even on a small laptop that's underpowered, not what's traditionally in a desktop environment, I mean literally it takes minutes to get those files processed. So yeah, it's actually pretty good. Next question is it software we install on a server or hardware or software packages? This is a software install, and it's designed, and the Audio Finder product is specifically designed to be installed on a desktop. So what most of our customers are doing is they're actually installing this on a pretty high-powered desktop machine, and it's usually that desktop machine that's utilized. Have another question on recommended specs. What I'd like to do there is, if you're truly interested in having a real drill down on the Audio Finder product, what I'd like you to do is get in contact with your account manager, your sales manager. If you're a prospect of Noble Systems, call into the main 800 number, and we'll arrange for a WebEx demo or potentially even a site visit where we can take your audio and load it in the system and show you how it works. We've come to the end of the time that we've got allotted, so I thank you all very much for your participation today. And please, reach out to your sales rep, your account manager, call the number, and we'd be glad to follow up with you and give you some specific demonstrations. With that, I conclude the conference call, and thank you all very much for attending today.
This concludes today's conference call. You may now